All righty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have learned a lesson, my friends. And what is that lesson? Don't start pressing buttons that say, look at the new interface before you get ready to broadcast because you might not be able to find your usual
Y-
opening.
You've just been getting
Hmm.
those doctor vibes. He said, "Press the button.
Press the
Press
button.
I am,
the."
and that's all right then, you know.
It was shiny.
So I just want to say, not only is she on time this week, Nicole, welcome once again. Glad to have you with us once again. Win Grace, also glad to have you with us. Just a reminder before we get started, because I am all over the place with my brain, Clarence is going to help maintain the chat and will be interrupting me at his leisure to bring in things from the chat. And I'm going to pretty much go, as I always say, with my notes. So, gentlemen, are you guys ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right. So, as we
Onward.
always say, yes, Lee, I'm sorry.
I just said onward.
Onward and upward.
Excelsior.
And as we always say, other than Excelsior, here we go again. The Discussing Network presents Discussing Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Kyle Jones, and I want to start this week by welcoming back Clarence Brown. Mr. Brown, you're smiling. You're happy to be here. How are you?
I don't know why I'm smiling because I'm angry. This stupid episode has been in my craw for the last few days, but I'm positive. I'm here for you guys to bring me up. I think I like the episode, but I have issues, and we're going to talk it out. That's why we're here, right? That's why we're here, right?
Indeed, indeed.
That is why we're here.
So, not only do I have Clarence Brown here, as always, Lee Shackelford. Mr. Shackelford, how are you?
Very good indeed. And yeah, yeah. I've been so eager to talk about this episode. Nothing has energized me more than our chats offline with Clara saying he didn't like it. Oh, this is going to be
Spoilers.
fun. Yeah. Okay.
You know, that's what's interesting about this because if you go back and you listen, for the most part,
Yeah.
we either all like this episode, or whatever that episode is, or we
Hmm.
all generally dislike an episode. Very rarely do we have one of us who has an alternate opinion.
Meh.
And usually it's me that has the alternate opinion, I
Yeah.
think.
Hey,
Oh,
let's
yeah,
let,
I think so too. That's why I'm so interested. I'm like, what, Clarence? I expected that from Kyle.
let's be clear here. There's no Batman v Superman, but
No.
no,
No.
it's not that bad.
And it is
where,
no
where was
Orphan
who was
55.
Martha in this? Oh, yeah, okay.
If only we had Martha. Okay.
Maybe so. All right. So I want to get
good.
out the door and say a little bit of unfortunate, sad news to get us started with. As of today, we lost William Russell. He is our first companion along with Susan and Barbara. And I'm looking at my image that I put up, and if what I'm seeing is it's a little bit lopsided, a little bit, maybe.
I'm just seeing the text
Yeah,
overlapping, but yeah.
it's not supposed to be doing that.
Huh.
Oh well. Again,
But yeah,
Kyle, don't mash buttons that you don't know what are.
he shared a November birthday with my wife. Not the same year, I shall stress, but I could always remember his birthday because it's hers. So he was just shy of turning 100. So a good run. Good on you, Mr. Russell.
Indeed.
Indeed, indeed. Indeed, indeed. So, gentlemen, do either of you have anything else before we get started? Because I want to get into the knockout, drag out fight.
It's not going to be a fight, man. It's not going to be
Yeah,
a fight.
we're the ones who don't fight.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Peace and happiness, man.
Yeah.
Now, all jokes aside, I have, whenever I say get into the knockout, drag out fight, I've been going down the social media route again, and it still boggles the mind of how many people who just seem to have haterade for no reason. And, Nicole, you and I have had a conversation about how you may not like something, but you can constructively give a reason why you don't
Mhm.
like it. You can balance that negative with a reason why, and the fact that you want to like it. It still amazes me that there are people that are posting Doctor Who is dead and
But
worst ever and etc. and so forth. Even and the thing that gets me is if you post something that is positive, they still want to post saying, "Oh, what show are you watching? You must not be watching Doctor Who."
Right.
that's how
Just
I felt this week.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Yep.
joking. I'm
That's
joking.
it. If you disagree with me, you're wrong.
yes, and I
It's
don't
as
get
simple
it.
as that. You're just wrong.
But at least with this one, we can kind of see a clear divide, possibly, right? Um,
I
y-
think, but I'm eager to get into it. But yeah,
yeah,
Mm.
more
uh,
more than all the rest of the episodes.
yeah,
This I think this
uh,
one, in itself, the story they tried to tell may be divisive by nature.
yeah.
Mm.
But fascinating, right? Because it's kind of transparently about social media.
Yeah,
Mm.
So I mean, that's one of the things it's about.
yeah.
But
What is it about?
yeah,
Okay, that's what.
yeah.
What is it about?
What is
Well,
it about?
I
Yeah,
know what
we'll
it's
get
about.
there.
It's about something that we can all agree on. And you want to know what that is?
What episode number it is?
Nope, we can't
Oh,
agree on that. But we can agree that if you have not seen this
oh,
episode, put us on pause, go out, watch the episode, come back, because from this moment forward, spoilers. Alrighty, the spoiler warning has gone out, and we are back to review Dot and Bubble. This is the fifth episode of the 2024 series of Doctor Who, first streaming / airing on the 31st of May and the 1st of June 2024. It starred Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor and Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday. Lee, I'll start with you. Summary view. What say ye?
well, my favorite author of all time is Jonathan Swift, and I appreciate satire, and I always do. And this just felt to me like 45 minutes or whatever of solid Swiftian satire, which is one of the things that I think science fiction and fantasy do best. I mean, like Gulliver's Travels. Um, and I really appreciated it on that level. And then I've heard people saying, well, really, this is an episode in which not that much happens. That they sort of felt like there wasn't enough forward momentum to the story. I don't know. But I was completely willing to forgive that, even if true. I just and then there's two pivot points for the character we've been following throughout for Lindy Pepperbean that truly staggered me, and I think they did a lot of other people too. And I think that's great when a TV show can introduce something that is credible, but also leaves the audience saying, "What?" That's fantastic writing, man. So love it.
All right, Clarence Brown. What say ye?
Yeah, man. I think I'm a bit torn on this one. I don't quite know whether to think this episode is just a brilliant masterpiece or just clumsily written. I think you can kind of read it both ways. Um, that being said, this episode was set up for me to absolutely love. I've preached about how much I love Black Mirror, and I talk about the Outer Limits sometimes. It's in Twilight Zone sometimes on the show, and this had all the makings to be something I really really liked. The world building that we got for the episode I thought was really interesting. But I kind of feel there's just a bit of again clumsiness or brilliance. I don't know, but it felt clumsiness in the storytelling. Um, and maybe it's meant to be that way, so you can look back on it with a different view once you've
Hmm.
seen it in its entirety. But it felt a bit clumsy to me. Me and my girlfriend watched this, and in both of us, she's not really a Doctor Who person, but both of us by the end of this episode were quite puzzled by the doctor moment at the end because it didn't really feel like it connected. Now, again, you go back and watch the episode, you pick up some of those things. Um, but this episode, I just feel like it was trying to do so many things, and I'm not sure it did any of them well. I
Yeah.
don't know. Let's talk about it. I want to
That
get talked up.
you feel like it kept coming close, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Mm. So I have a question for you, and Clarence, I'm going to go ahead and ask it before I tell you what I think, because I don't want to accidentally forget this question. At some point, I want you to answer the question: had there not been the angle at the end, if you know the twist at the end, for lack of a better pun,
That's
if we
fair.
didn't have the twist at the end and you had left it with the social media angle, would that have changed your opinion? So I want to come back to that question in a minute. But for my take, I think I loved the fact that, and I'll just be honest, I am a little bit ashamed that I didn't pick up on some of the tales in the initial watching because it came out of left field. You know, maybe I was just enjoying, and I knew she was not a very nice person. I knew that
Yeah.
from watching and seeing the things that she did. But one of the things that really got to me that made it such a awesome watch for me on a high level was the fact that it did slap me in the face out of left field and it just came out of nowhere, and I'm seeing this character that regardless of what he looks like, you know, whether it's the 10th Doctor, Ninth
Hmm.
Doctor, Fourth Doctor, First Doctor, all of these other incarnations, maybe with the exception, of course, of the fugitive doctor, those people would have migrated to and said, take me with you. And knowing that it was the same person and that they were rejecting, that just really
Mhm.
got to me. And for that, if you upset me in a way that makes me think, and the fact that I can't stop thinking about the episode,
Mm.
that to me is why it's brilliant. Whether it made me have warm fuzzy feelings or not, I just thought that that part for me was well executed. And then again, that's just the way, you know, I interpreted it.
Yeah. Can I pick up a comment real quick?
Absolutely.
One here from Nicole saying that, was it a twist though? She said she noticed the all white cast immediately, which I did um, as well. But again, it really just didn't jump out. And we're going to get into these things, but it really
Mhm.
just didn't jump out to me as being the point of the story. And she also mentions the microaggressions, which I've talked with Tasha in her chat about. They were definitely there. And I don't know, to me, when there's a message like this in Doctor Who, whether it's racism or, save the planet or whatever, to me, it's not often the main point of the story. It's like more subtle and you pick it out at
Mm.
the end. But it flipped on its head here, or twisted, as Nicole said. It was kind of the main point of the episode, and maybe that was the thing that just made
Mm.
it not feel quite right to me. And I know we had some episodes that have been focused on race and things like that, so it's definitely not out of the norm. But just something about the way the episode was structured that made me feel so many different things that I didn't really know what to think by the end of it.
Yeah. I think that's why it may take a rewatch. And I'm noticing several people in the comments saying that. And I wanted to point out something else that our brilliant friend Nicole was saying, because yeah, I'm calling her brilliant because she agrees with me. Um, because I'm in my bubble, right? She's saying that it's about being in your own bubble with regards to race, yes, but also about classism and groupthink of any kind. I think that's what's genius about this episode is having people is to make the metaphor visual. That everybody's got their head in a bubble. They can't walk forward without somebody telling them which way to walk. And so that's about everything that constructs your world, which may
Yeah.
involve your racial identity, but also about your class. These are the rich kids. Yeah, there you go. These are the rich kids too, about the entitlement, about how difficult it is to do my job that I have to do for 2 hours a day. I mean, my hands get chapped. just no concept of how the rest of the world works because it doesn't matter. They're irrelevant. And and I think
Yeah,
the indictment is we all do that to some degree or
that's
another.
true.
And I thought that at the end that final betrayal or rejection that could be about well, this black man is telling me to go with him. No, but Ruby's also kind of dressed like a dock worker. I could just as easily see Lindy going, girl, no, I don't know where you think you're going to take me, but
It,
it's the whole sphere,
yeah.
and I don't know. That's would we crucify one of our own heroes for our own good? Would we throw Ricky September, under the
Mm,
bus? Hell
mm,
yes. Hell yeah. We do it all the time.
mm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So let's focus on the social media aspect for
Mm.
a second, because we're talking about the bubble, we're talking about social media and having the bubble. I think that there's two ways that I can look at this from the social media bubble. A, we are all about technology. Look at people driving down the road and you see people with phones in their hands.
Mhm.
You see college campuses and you've got people with phones in their hands walking around campus. And even beyond all the technology that we have, I mean, there's the Apple uh, virtual reality computer. There's the Vision. Well, that's the Vision Pro. There's the
Yeah.
Oculus Quest. There's the Facebook. All these different things that's virtual reality. And so we've got this access to technology. So even beyond that kind of tells us what to do. Like, look at, hey, Alexa, go buy this. Hey,
Mhm.
Siri, look up this.
Mhm.
Hey, fill in the blank, hey, Google, blah, 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 blah. And now you've got even further with, OpenAI, ABC, and, whatever. What I am saying even further than that is even into social media, you've got all these different social media platforms, but even into that, you've got algorithms into social media because every single time I open Facebook now, if I'm not on the Discussing Who Facebook page, I'm just as myself. My feed is nothing but Doctor Who because that's what I've been interacting with lately.
Mhm.
And so anything that I might have did 3 months ago is gone. So as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, as far as that bubble is, it's all Doctor Who. And if that's all I see, then that's all I'm going to think.
Right. No, I long ago silenced everybody who doesn't agree with me politically on social media, just because it was giving me a stomach ache. But you see what I did, right?
You
I
formed
made
your
a
bubble.
bubble. Yeah,
Yeah.
I made a
Yeah.
bubble that I never hear anybody disagree with me. It's lovely. It's very
Mm.
very
Well,
nice.
for the same thing with YouTube, if I see all of these haterade YouTube videos, I immediately not just dislike and don't suggest. I will go and say, don't recommend channel. Don't even want to hear it.
Whoa, whoa. Kyle, that's a little extreme,
Yeah,
man.
but I mean,
Whoa.
if you
Well,
can't be positive, I mean, I'm not. If I'm going to sit there and watch something again, I love watching Who culture. Sean did a review. I actually commented saying respectfully, Sean, I see your points, but I disagree. Some of the
mhm.
points that he made. I don't mind having discourse, having a discussion. I actually, Clarence, love the fact that you don't completely agree with
Yes.
everything because that makes good conversation. But what's not good conversation is just that bubble, again, having a bubble around your head and saying, I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we talk about this a lot at my house because this is my wife's field of study, and and it fascinates me. And you a minute ago, Kyle, you were saying we are surrounded by this technology, and that's one way of looking at it. But I think the technology is the gateway. I mean, in this story, it's not about the mechanism that makes it all work. Well, I guess ultimately it is because the mechanism hates them. But you know what I mean? The world that they live in and that they loved was not. it was about human connection. It was about the people being able to talk to each other and to see what they're wearing and to share loves and likes
Yeah.
and so on, to be able to have the Ricky September fan club, literally in your face all the time. And that's really what we crave, is these interactions with other people. The problem is that we also have brand identities, that we all, especially people with low self-esteem, we take on something else outside ourselves and say, that's a great thing. That's me. I'm going to be that now. So I'm going to be Kansas City Chiefs. Look at my shirt.
Yeah.
That's who I am. I'm Coca-Cola because I love it so much. And then when somebody comes along and says, "Yeah, give me Pepsi any day," you got a fight on your hands, because I've turned my identity over to whatever that thing is. And we've been saying in other discussions, clearly our observation is that nobody hates Star Wars with the kind of rage of Star Wars fans,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing the same thing this year, and I think we did, a couple of years ago too. Nobody hates Doctor Who like Doctor Who fans. And it's because we have got a version of it that we curated, and we said, that's the show that I like. That's me. And then you get a new showrunner or whatever, and the show changes, and you go, "Hey, that's not me anymore. You've taken you're offending me."
Mm.
And I think that's where it gets confused. And that's why people will say, "Oh, discussing Who, they really like this." Well, that's because they're stupid.
Right,
Hey,
exactly.
hang on a second. But there's no thought process there, and there's no empathy. There's no acknowledgement these are human beings talking. It's just, yeah.
S-
Anyway.
So let me ask this question, Clarence. Still on the social media, going back to the
Mm.
question that I posed earlier. Had this just been the slugs and the sentient AI, and the doctor has to rescue and rectify the situation, rescue these people, and that's how it ended. He rescued them, and they go off on their merry way. Would that have changed your opinion some of the story?
Yeah, it would have definitely made it a different story. And even like Jen mentioned, she was kind of, wondering what happened at the end. I was kind of the same way. For me, the speech from the doctor, if you didn't pick up those microaggressions, by the end of it, you're just like wondering what's going on. I thought this was about classism. I thought this
Mm.
was about being in your bubble, whether your bubble
Mm.
be this literal bubble around your head or it be the bubble of your community, of your class, of the people you go to school with, whatever your bubble is. I thought that's what it was about, and just staying in your circle and not really
Mm.
even giving anything outside of your opinion the time of day. So, and I'm forgetting the question because I'm going on right here, but
Well,
go ahead.
No, keep going, please.
But no, man, it just it just felt so disjointed to me. Uh, and then furthermore, when you talk about the slugs or the enemies or part of the enemies, which the other part I guess is AI. Guess we'll talk about that. I think the slugs weren't really needed in this episode at all. I th- I think they were there, and help me out here. Maybe they were just there just to show there's other monsters. One looks like this young lady, and the other looks like
mm.
this big thing that just swallows you up like a what's the feed me Seymour, whatever plant that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
got you too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm going on. Go ahead. I
No, no,
feel like I'm
no, no,
rambling.
no,
I feel
Yeah,
like
no.
I'm
that's good.
rambling.
That's
No, your points are valid, because if I'm being brutally honest, which I'm wanting to be brutally honest, had I not got the scene that I did at the end from the doctor, and that having that Murray Gold music behind it and
mm.
all of that, I would have probably gone away with saying this episode was a little bit meh. If it would have just stayed on the social media dot and bubble train, and
Mm.
that would have been it, I would have been like, okay, that was good. Okay, next week, what's happening? I don't think I would have been invested like I became with the story had there not been that. Lee, what do you think?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, watching it the second time through, I was thinking which parts of this could you take out and have it still work?
Mm, mm.
It's we've been talking the last couple of weeks about the fact that the theme, the thread running through this season seems to be rogue AI, and that's interesting. So, do we need the slugs,
I don't think so.
or mites, or whatever you compare them to, Audrey too?
Ooh.
Um, but and again, we need Nicole back as a co-host on the show. I just keep reading her comments in the chat, saying yes, yes, oh, and also that, yes. But yeah, she was just saying that, and I forgot my point. Having said that,
I'd just say the
um,
slugs were taking out the trash.
taking out the trash.
Mm.
Oh, she was reminding us that we know that an earlier draft of the script was called "Monsters, Monsters Everywhere,"
Yes.
which because a lot of it is kind of you know
Yeah.
uh, really on the nose, and but yeah, and after the snap here is saying humanity is the villain. Yeah, I think monsters, monsters everywhere might have sort of given it away
Yeah, I
that
think so.
everybody except the Doctor and Ruby in this are monsters. Um,
Mm.
yeah, we never do find out what happened on the home world. We don't really find out where these people think they're going. A lot of unanswered questions, and it's just
S-
um,
So, Lee, you made my
mm,
wheels start turning with something you
mm,
said
ooh,
that everything seems to be connected with a rogue AI, right?
maybe. Well,
Well, we're returning to unit headquarters for the finale. I mean, well, that's already been seen in the
hmm.
trailer, so I'm not, saying anything that we don't already know.
Oh,
You know where I'm going with that, I think, maybe. We were introduced the last time we were in unit headquarters in the 60th anniversary to the Vlox, I believe was the name. That was
hmm.
this being that was looked like a big computer in a chair.
That's right.
What if he is behind, or it is behind, or whatever it is
Uh,
behind whatever
uh,
this rogue AI ish,
hmm.
maybe?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
knows?
I mean, yeah, we've talked about the fact that maybe this season is that we're actually watching a TV show. That in the last
Mm,
episode we're going to kind of pull back a little bit and show that a lot of these things only make sense if that there's one actor in the show who keeps turning up in every episode.
mm.
That starts to make sense if there's some kind of meta thing going on. I I look forward to seeing where, if anywhere, it's all going, but
Can,
I don't know.
can we go back to the? I know we're kind of out of order here, but
We're all over the place.
the end, just for a minute, we brought up earlier. Why do we think that the young lady and her friends did not go with the doctor? Is it merely the racism, classism? Because to me, what made that feel so weird to me is because usually in times of strife and times of stress and times of trouble, people tend to grow closer together instead of.
But we do tribalize.
That's true.
And I think these people already knew their tribe, and the Doctor and Ruby are not of the people.
But I'll take it one step
We're
further. This is why I think that it was more racial than
in
culture
class.
or
Yeah.
class.
Well, let me
Go ahead.
just because she addressed them as you. Of course, that could just mean the doctor, or it could mean both Ruby and the doctor. So that
Hmm.
was another part that confused me. I just thought she was talking to both of them.
But see,
Me too.
when she says I can't come with you, or whatever it was that she says, Ruby asked her, because I went back after
Hmm.
we had our chat, and I went back and I watched that, and Ruby specifically asked her, so she's asking Lindy or whatever her name is, racist
Hmm.
bitch. So she's asking her the question, and she says, why not? And she looks not at Ruby. She specifically says, because you, sir, are not one of us. Not
She
the
does say
two
you,
of you.
sir. That's
Yeah,
true.
she
Okay,
says,
okay.
you,
And
sir,
There's some
are
nuance
not.
there.
So
right.
with that being framed, you've got Ruby asking the question. She didn't say because the two of you are not one of
Right.
us, or you, the two, are not like us. Ruby asked the question, why not? She says, because you, sir, are not one of us. And then
Yeah.
goes so far even to say it was, she says to the effect, well, you you did save us, but I guess that was your duty. And then
Yeah.
she says, screen to screen is borderline acceptable or something to that effect.
Yeah.
But in real life, oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Ick.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we usually look for our far-flung future sci-fi stories to be more Trekkian, more optimistic, more
Mm.
people coming together. So I have to say, for me, after realizing what was really going on through many conversations and chats, this this uh, this is just a scary future. It's a scary future, and I have to imagine some people came away from this just kind of, yeah, feeling kind of down. if this
Yeah.
is if this
Yeah.
is what the future holds.
And Nicole even brought up another comment where she said the voodoo and the contamination bits
Yeah.
really drove it home.
Yeah. Things
Mm,
that the three of us in the deep south have certainly grown up with. So we know that
mm,
is that
mm.
that does seem very pointed to the black man. So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
You know,
I wanted
go ahead.
I wanted to bring up something from earlier in the episode, or actually persistent throughout, is that Lindy keeps saying, "You're so stupid. That's stupid. You're stupid. I hate you, and you're stupid." But when she finds that she can't walk without the bubble, she says, "I'm so stupid."
Mm,
So this is one of her operative words, but it's not just a weapon; it's also a judgment.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
And one of the things, one of the red flags about living in a social media bubble is that scientists are studying now. Is about how destructive it is to self-esteem. And I thought that
Yeah.
was kind of interesting. And it makes sense why people like Lindy um, are just kind of hollow inside, and that really the only identity they have is the one that exists in the bubble. So even when the dots and bubbles are turned off, all they have is each other, as long as they're going to keep reinforcing that.
mm.
And don't and please admire how beautifully dressed I am, and let's not talk about the fact that secretly I know I'm stupid.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, you're stupid.
We're all stupid.
We're all stupid, but we don't talk about it. Say that's a nice top you got on. So
Yes.
If they can even look beyond the bubble to see anybody around them. I thought that was really
yeah,
But how
yeah,
many
good world
times
building
have
in
we
an episode.
seen people who literally can't see what's right in front of their face, no pun intended,
sure.
because they're glued either to their computer, to their TV, to their phone, to their whatever. Life passes them by simply because they're in their own Insta, Twitter, X, YouTube, fill in the blank.
Or our religious beliefs, or
Yeah.
any number of other things. Yeah.
So here's a question for you guys. At one point, she says people who are 17 through
Mm.
27, and of course, if you're rich enough, get to
Yes.
come to Find Time. What happens when you're 28?
I wondered if that's what the slugs were for. If they're eating people when if that's why some people were being passed by, is because they weren't 28 yet. Then it becomes Logan's Run. So
Yeah, it
I don't know
does.
if,
It does.
but the way this whole world works doesn't. You can't examine it for too long, because watching it the second time, I was thinking, who keeps this hallway so clean?
Yeah, it's true.
Um, Ruby's apartment is really nice. Somebody's apparently making up the bed after her. I
Mm,
yeah. So how does this work anyway? Yeah.
mm, very interesting thought.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Ricky September for a moment.
Mm.
What did you guys think of this character? And Clarence, I'll start with you. Ricky September.
Oh, the poor guy never had a chance. Interesting character. I love the fact that he was able to break the norm of being in the bubble at all times. And, sometimes you just have
Mm.
to get offline, cut off your internet, put down your phone, and go read a book. And, that's kind of what he did. So, yeah, they definitely set him up to be very enduring once we knew that he was breaking the cycle. And I'm like, oh, he seemed kind of weird on the bubble, but now in real life, he's kind of cool. So hey, let's do this.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, at last we found a character that we really like. I hope
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
nothing bad happens to him. Oh, jeez. Ow.
So, what
Ooh.
did you think, Lee? What did you think of Ricky?
He, because so much of our immersive social media is about celebrity, I thought that was inevitable. You'd have to have a character like that. And if I was writing this, that I would, yeah, several people I've noticed throughout the chat here have been saying
Mm.
he would have been a great companion, uh,
Oh
but
boy.
is he at the end of the day? Would he have been any better than taking Lindy in the TARDIS? I think probably,
Yeah.
just because he. I think he's telling the truth. He must be telling the truth about turning off the bubble, because he really does know how some of the rest of the world actually works.
Mm.
But he hasn't challenged it enough to not be a celebrity.
All right.
Uh,
So, let me ask you guys
uh,
this question. I agree with everything that's just been said, but was Ricky's death needed for him not to be there at the end? Because of what we saw of
hmm.
Ricky, would he have intervened maybe on the doctor's behalf to them if he would have been there? Or would he have just followed with them? What do you guys think?
I think his death devalued the end for me because when she closed that door on him, I was through with Lindsay. I don't care. I didn't care what she did for the rest of the episode. That's why I
Oh,
guess maybe the speech didn't hit me as it should have because
hmm.
I was checked out. I was like,
You
Yeah,
were
okay,
ready for her to die.
right.
go in the forest, do your
Yeah,
thing.
have fun with that.
What do you think, Lee?
Oh, I think he definitely would have intervened, and his celebrity would have caused everybody to stop what they were doing and listen to what he said. So you could get a different ending to the episode
Mm.
by not killing Ricky September. You could still have her betrayal of him, but maybe he's still able to deflect the dot and he would have lived.
Yes.
You
And
know, so
Clarence, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Lee. Please
well,
finish.
no, that's all. Just that, yeah. Then he would have been in that last scene, and it would have gone very differently.
Mm.
Alas.
Ooh, coincidence. We don't need to go coincidence. We all
Mm.
know what happens when we have coincidences.
Hmm.
Clarence, you brought up a very good point. I would, I think the ending may would have been a little bit more impactful because I'm serious, seriously serious that you brought up an excellent point because I'm sitting here framing it in my head. You're right. I was ready for her to have something bad happen to her as soon as we see her turn on him and basically sacrifice him just so she could make sure because she was already opening the door. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like
Yeah.
she was that much more in danger, but she had to ensure that she wasn't going to be by turning on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hitherto, we hate her at that point.
I mean,
Yeah.
proud of that, I was still rooting for her. I think I was
Yeah.
still rooting for her to survive.
Yeah.
Let's
Right.
make it to the basement or wherever the sewer. Um,
I was impressed. I was impressed, if nothing else, by her supernatural ability to run down a flight of stairs when she was walking into a pole just a few minutes earlier.
yeah,
And I saw a post on social media, I think Facebook, that said the hero of this episode was not Ricky September, it was the pole.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
got to walk into
Yeah.
the
On your
pole.
second watch, you have to be rooting for the pole. Yeah.
Yes. But Clarence, let me ask you again. I'm going back to you, but framing it with her not turning on him, would
Hmm.
that have, and not having that dislike of her, utter dislike of her, would that have reframed that ending for you in any way?
I think it would have because, like I just said, I was still rooting for her up until she shut that door. Because I thought there was, even though she's obviously in this bubble, she's being a jerk to these. Because I just thought she was being a jerk to Ruby and the doctor because they were. It's just like I'm on my chat message with you guys and people keep interrupting. I'm like, get away! I just thought it was that type of thing. They're
Huh.
encroaching on her ability to have fun with her friends, which is what I thought was happening. But so I was still kind of on board with her until that moment where she shuts the door. And if she had not have done that, I think the moment when she turns on the doctor probably would have been more impactful because, like Lee said, if Ricky September was there, he may have been able to push the conversation to add more exposition to kind of get what was really at the root of her actions. So yeah, I think it could have made a slight difference for me at
Mm.
the end.
You know, I have to give, before we move on, I have to give the actor who was playing her, Callie Cook, I believe is her name,
Mhm.
did an awesome job of creating a character that I think, for the most part, I'm sure there's probably some out there who like her. You know, may they go to Fine Time too. But she created a character that was quickly and universally disliked and hated to some degree,
Mhm.
and that's hard to do. You know, to come across as such a icky character.
Yeah. Well, and to be genuinely appealing as well too. You can see why her other um, shallow as an eggshell friends just adore her. But yeah, I was pleased to see her turn up on somewhere on social media that I saw. Um, just as the actor saying, "Please, please, please, I am nothing like that character. I just want everybody to know that is so
Oh,
not
Marts.
me."
Oh,
Yeah,
she's acting, guys.
Mm.
yeah, it's called acting anyway.
So,
Um, hmm,
so before I get to the end, I do want to
hmm,
mention there was a twist, of course, and
yes,
we see her mom, the character's mom, actually be Susan Twist.
yeah,
Nothing more I would say to say about that because we're used to seeing Susan Twist, except for we finally get a recognition, excuse me, from both Ruby and the Doctor
yes.
saying that they recognize her.
Yeah.
And I liked the reference to 73 yards because Ruby is not sure where she's seen her before.
Correct.
And I thought that's interesting that some part of that
Oh,
still exists
that's
in her head.
interesting.
Yeah. But the doctor recognized her as the face on the video screen, and it's like,
Hmm.
yeah.
All
But
right.
yeah.
I did make a few notes before I get to the final scene that I want to talk about Shuti for a moment. But I made a list of what was considered the covert or overt question mark racism. And we may have mentioned most of these, but I want to mention these really, really quickly. Lindy immediately blocks the doctor in the chat. When Ruby appears, she is annoyed by her, but does not immediately block. She is upset by the idea that the doctor and Ruby are in the same room. When realizing that the person she blocked and the person with Ruby are one and the same, she says that she thought you all looked the same. When
Mhm.
introducing the doctor to her friends, she makes a comment that he would be disciplined once everyone was safe and that he was not as stupid as he looks. And all the residents of Fine Time, of course, we already know that, was or were white. So, dum dum dum. So we
Yeah.
keep, go ahead.
Yep. No, Nicole's right. It's all there. It's all there from the beginning. It's just being slowly unpacked. Yeah. But see, I understand Clarence's point too that he didn't pick up on the total whiteness of everybody in Fine Time, and why should we? We've had a century of cinema and television in which everybody's white. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like most of Doctor Who, we have to say. So it kind of looked like we're just doing it again. Same as usual, and
So when
that's why
I
it sneaks by the radar. It's kind of
so when I went back and watched it again, I think that the casting of the white actors were very strategic or was very strategic because there were a few that they had so much fake makeup to give you
mm,
that pastel slash overly photoshopped look, where everything, and I want to say that some of the characters could have been of a mixed nationality or another
Uh-huh.
nationality with all the makeup on. So you really weren't sure, even though they were all at the end, you realize they're
Oh,
all white.
Yeah.
some of those people are passing. That's
No, I'm not trying
I
to,
think that's very interesting, though.
But I,
but I think, I don't think everybody looked the same. And so I think it was another just a veiled attempt of you not seeing what was obviously there,
yeah,
maybe.
I thought the makeup and stuff were just a result of being in the future, and this just was the look of the
Uh,
time. I
Very
thought it was
good
just
yeah,
the
point.
aesthetic,
right.
almost like a cheesy version of being a superstar type of thing. That's what I thought they were doing.
I get
Uh,
that. Yeah.
but there's also an interesting point when you think about the racism that Lindsay has in this episode, and where does her racism derive from? So we know her planet is destroyed, so we don't know what the heck happened there. But is her racism a result of the classism? And maybe that's the point.
Mm.
Well, yeah. I can see that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. Two intriguing things coming up in the chat I want to share is that Tasha postulates that maybe the reason why the doctor couldn't get past the force field was race related also. They have an anti black man bubble around the, that's an intriguing
It's
theory.
not unheard
Yeah.
of. I
No.
mean,
So,
a
but
technologically advanced whites only sign.
exactly. It's just, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, quite literally.
quite literally. So it's not explained why the TARDIS can't get into the city otherwise. So yeah, I just think that's very interesting. And our friend Chris Temby points out that this is meta. This is about the show, but just think about this: the smartest person in the universe is here being played by a man who was rescued out of the Rwandan massacre.
Yes.
So yeah, and this was, if I understand right, one of the first, if not the first scene that he shot for
Yes.
the show.
Yes. I'm so glad you brought that up because
Wow.
I,
I mean,
ass- I really assumed that last week, because, we had said that was her first scene that she shot,
right.
but not realizing the first few seconds, minutes, or whatnot, and the ending were shot out of order.
Hmm.
He wasn't actually there at
Right.
chronologically at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
But yes, this was his first day on set. Because if you look at his haircut is a little bit different
Yeah.
than all the other times we see him because he was still recording Sex Education.
Yeah.
But yes, first scene out of the
And
box.
what he brings to that of his personal history and his understanding of who this character is and his place in the show, that's just astounding. Yeah, Nicole is saying, I just love the fact that he first laughs and then is screaming in frustration. It's like a hysterical laugh. Yeah, visceral is the right word, I think. My goodness.
Yeah.
What a performance.
Again, I think we have to also point out this was borderline another Dr. Light episode, in
Yeah.
my opinion. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
he was there, but
Yeah.
Mm.
But he was on a screen.
yeah, so maybe
For most
another
of it.
easy episode to shoot while the doctor's doing other
Correct. Agreed.
obligations.
I do want to mention on that for just a moment, but I also, before I forget it, I want to say, and did I just forget it? I did forget it. Okay, so I'm going
We'll
to
come back.
mention, we'll come back to that. Maybe I'll remember it. Talking about a Dr. Light, one of the things that I keep seeing on social media are some of the people saying, why cast him if he can't commit? If he wasn't going to be on there, why even cast him? Well, number one, he didn't just go and blanket audition. They called his agent to see if he was available. He went and auditioned and then got the role. So it wasn't that, he went out and tried to get the role, number one. And number two, it wasn't his fault that he already had a commitment that he wanted to honor. That's, to me, just like he does something else and he says, no, I need to honor my Doctor Who commitments. That's just professionalism, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can fault him too much for having to take care of his obligations and scheduling, and we have to get the season out now, and shooting schedules. So yes, it's a big, huge thing to keep everybody get everybody in the same place to shoot something like this. So I don't fault
Thanks.
him too much.
And Nicole brings up a very interesting point. They did the same thing with Tennant and Hamlet
That's
back in
true.
2009.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I know what it was I was going to say.
Oh, good.
While he was acting his acting chops off with that scene, very subtle, but equally to me as powerful because it helped frame and make the scene work, was Millie Gibson's disgust. Because
Yeah.
it's easy to forget, for all intents and purposes, the mom who's taken care of her and the grandma she knows are
Hmm.
black.
Yeah.
So it's not like she's the white girl, so to speak.
Right.
So I loved how she portrayed the disgust at them as well as the pain that she saw him in and responding to that.
Right.
Absolutely loved both of their performances
And
there.
the way she does some of that physically with the doctor, she wants to touch him, but she also knows she needs to let him, work it out. So she keeps
Mm.
reaching for him, but it's heartbreaking, and really very, very well chosen. So yeah.
So answer me this. Why do you
Mm.
guys think that as an actor, Shuti chose to laugh before Scream? Thought.
Well, somebody in the chat just said something brilliant about it, and I've already lost it. But the gist was, oh yeah, it was Lei Jin. His reaction's so good because the situation is so dumb and so frustrating at the same time. You have to laugh at the sheer stupidity of this, but also, I can save you if
Mm,
Yeah.
you're going to say no for
mm.
Sometimes you laugh to keep from crying.
exactly. And he's just going to give us a quick burst of both. And yeah, I love how long it took him to go through that door into TARDIS. It's just such a neat button to the episode. So,
And is
anyway.
that not the perfect image? I mean, that to me is
Hmm.
like one of those classic, how you see, I'm picturing John Pertwee, one of those classic pictures of him coming out of the TARDIS,
Hmm.
having that
No, that's right.
image, that you immediately knew what I was talking about, didn't
Yep.
you, Lee?
Yep.
So this to me is another one of those images. I think that will be one of his images of that picture of going into the TARDIS and kind of looking back and that look on his face. Just awesome. Also, Murray Gold took the 15th Doctor's theme, slowed it down,
Mm.
made it so much more different than what it normally is. It wasn't that happy go lucky, energetic theme. It was
Right.
bold, morose, whatever you want to call it. It just was awesome. All right, gentlemen, before we get into our final ratings, anything else either of you want to bring up before we move into those?
Not for me. Hmm.
Clarence?
No, I don't have anything, man.
Mm.
All right. And we have a comment from Chris Timby. It says, and these bubble kids are now orphans that do not wish to be rescued.
There you go.
Okay. All right. It's a hard knock life for them. Just
they've
telling
they've got some brutal lessons they're about to learn, I think.
you.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, they're gonna get eaten.
Yep.
Because didn't we sort of suggest that the big bug things
Ooh.
that they're from the woods anyway, right?
Yes, I think
Ooh.
Yeah.
so.
Okay, they're dead.
I have to bring up this comment from Lee Jen. Whew, at Nicole, the day you learn you're a black man, so relatable. The doctor, this is when he realizes he's black. It could be his episode. And let me say this:
Interesting.
I was waiting for them to do this with Jody, the whole run of Jody. They kind of did it in a few circumstances,
Hmm.
but they never played it. I think for the seriousness that it could have been
Right.
at times. So yeah, to see them kind of, you know, take this on directly, I think it's kind of cool.
Mm.
Yeah, I that was my high hope for Jodie's season 2, and when they were going to dunk her as a witch, I think was the closest we ever came
Yeah.
to it, which is kind of a special circumstance. I like, mm, that's not just because you're a woman, but yeah, okay. So yeah, when Grace asks, so there's no snow in this episode.
That's
I feel
interesting.
I feel like there wasn't time for it, but
Yeah.
but it's a good point.
I'm still stuck on those orphans and thinking, maybe the slugs will come out tomorrow. Oh, that was fun. One more thing before we move on. As par course, always after watching an episode that's new, will watch my favorite reactors on social media or on YouTube, from Jessica with Seska Says to all the others that I've watched. One thing that was universal that says, even as a fandom, the Doctor is better than us as a fandom. The, while the Doctor is saying, please, if you'll let me do anything,
I can save you.
save you, everybody that I'm watching are going, bleep, 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 let him die,
Yep.
bleep, bleep, bleep. So, just saying.
Cue the Project Pat. Don't
Yeah.
save her. You know, you know.
They wanted there to be a waterfall on the other side of it, where the boat was going. Yeah.
So I briefly had a moment, and this is the last thing I'll say before we move on. I briefly had a moment to go into After the Snout Movies and TV's chat before we got started, our friend Tasha,
Yeah.
and I made a comment in her chat that I want to make here in regards to them making the comment about the Doctor and they all look alike and whatnot. My comment was, well, I know a race of beings that mostly they all live alike. Maybe they could go and live on that planet. I think it's called Skaro. Good place for them to call home.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, let's get into our favorite scene. Lee Shackelford, I'll start with you. Favorite scene?
Well, hard to beat that rejection of the Doctor and the obvious reasons why. I didn't enjoy it. I don't like it, but as a powerful scene, yeah,
Yep.
it's hard to beat that.
Clarence Brown, favorite scene?
I think mine is going to be the scene with Ricky September, although it's, another tragic scene. Sometimes when things get dark, you see who people really are. And, when life is on the line, she's out of there and he's helping her. He's helping. He's going to bat for her quite literally against the dot. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Very
He
good.
did go to bat for her, didn't he?
He
That's
did,
good.
literally.
Yeah, I like that.
And had a very good bat, because I'm telling you,
I-
I'd just been swinging the bat like, hello.
Yeah.
Oh, let me what did you guys think of the naming, the ordering of the name? I thought that was kind of weird. Because all of a sudden she realized Ricky's real name is not September, it's something else that's way up in the alphabet, and he is instantly offed.
Mm. I thought, and I think I mentioned this to you, Clarence, I thought that if it's a robot AI or an AI that's creating something, the sequencing from A to Z kind of makes sense. But at the same time, I'm wondering, because I picked this up earlier today, one of the people that she goes and meets, the guy, his name I think was Chamberlain. So why wasn't he already dead unless he had escaped even closer or even sooner?
Yeah.
So all right, so for my favorite scene, and again for
Oh.
the same reason that Lee said, it's not because I love this scene for what it was. I love it for how Ncuti acted and portrayed the scene and pulled off the scene that was heart-wrenching to me, was the final scene. I mean, hands down, that scene alone is what makes this a memorable episode for me. So that's it. So, favorite quote. Clarence, I'm going to start with you. Favorite quote.
You don't know me, but my name is the Doctor, and there are monsters out there that are coming to get you.
All right. Lee Shackelford. Favorite quote. And I have a feeling I know what it is.
I bet you're wrong.
Okay.
Forward. 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 Forward.
Bravo, sir. Bravo.
All right. I thought you were going with Dr. P, but I guess I was wrong. Um, all right. So I was wrong. I
Hmm.
absolutely was wrong. I took the low hanging fruit from my favorite scene was the doctor saying, I don't care what you think. You can say whatever you want. You can think absolutely anything. I will do anything if you will just allow me to save your lives.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, so everyone in the chat, I am about
Oh
to
yeah.
start with final ratings. If you want to give your rating 1 out of 5 and tell us 1 out of 5 what's, I do have some from our Facebook chat that I will be reading. But if you are in the chat and would like to contribute, by all means, please do. So for final ratings, I did a X, formerly known as Twitter, poll and found out that they only allow us now to do 4 options. So of the 4 options, five, 43% gave 5 out of 5. 4 was 31%. 3 was 14%. And 1 or 2 was 12%. All right. So from Facebook, Chaz Samuel, who is Charlie Unicorn that I mentioned last week, he gave it 4 dots out of 5. He takes a point off due to the fact that the dots didn't finish the job.
Give him
Morgan,
time. Give him
yes,
time.
indeed.
Yeah.
Morgan Lee says 4 shocking betrayals out of 5. Chris Timby says 5 stumbling, grumbling baby steps out of 5. Janet Hall, who is in the chat, just upped it to 1 out of 5. And yes, 1 suddenly got my running legs out of 5 from Janet Hall. Kath Stahl gives it 4 itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikinis out of 5. Harold Katz gives it 3 punches on a numeric keypad out of 5. Maddie Tilley gives it 4.5 giant man eating slugs out of 5 and goes on to say brilliant episode and so thought provoking too. Tasha Pierce from After the Snap gives 4.25 swift kicks in the rear for racism out of 5. Kevin O'Brien gives 5 slugs out of 5. And he says he wanted to lower it because he had given 5 to Boom and 73 yards, but this episode's message, really haunts. And only, let's see, we got 2 more left, and they are Claire Ashton, 4.5 blocking the lot of them out of 5, and Tad Davis, 4. I seem to be rating everything 4 this season out of 5. This episode broke my heart. All right, Lee Shackelford, what say ye?
I'm giving it 4.5 batteries that you can charge in 30 seconds out of 5.
All right, Clarence, what say ye? You said what, 4,
Four and a
Lee?
half.
4.5, okay.
I'm gonna give this 3 Ricky September dances out of 5.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, just a curious quick question. Did our conversation up the ante any?
Yeah, I mean, I think this conversation, along with some others I've had over the course of the weekend, have pushed my rating up to 3. Yeah.
Awesome. And that's all we can ask. Absolutely. Cool. Me, I'm going to give this easily 5 out of 5. I feel weird by saying I love this episode, but I loved the message. And I love the fact that we're sitting here having a thought provoking, deep episode, and we're not talking fluff. We're not talking about, oh, well, this, and regardless of space babies, we're not talking about, a booger monster and using methane gas from nappies to, you see what I'm saying? We're talking about
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
world stuff. So,
Yeah. Well, you're stupid.
yeah.
Hey, hey, Kyle, can I say, when I first started chatting with you about this, with you guys in our Discord about this episode, I was like, it just seemed like the doctor was barely there and most of it was shot on green screen. I'm like, it even looks like at the end he did the whole scene in like a green screen because they were so tight on the shot. You're like, no, man, I'm looking at the video, the BTS now. He was there. Say, oh, cool. So let me go look. Like, oh, I guess he was there.
Yeah.
But then, but then I was told the episode was about racism. And I was like, what?
What? But
I guess, yeah.
I was honest. I was honest because did I not follow that up in saying, but now I have to be honest. You know, I could be watching an episode, and if it was the 15th Doctor, because I really like the 15th Doctor, and I would basically be happy watching the 15th Doctor watch paint dry. So
You did say
Yeah.
that.
I did say
You
that,
did.
you know, by, you know, just being clear and whatever. There we go. All right. So in the chat, we have from Lei Jin 3.75 polls to the face out of 5. Love it. Love it. Love it. Win Grace gives 3.5 practical slugs out of 5.
Mhm.
There we go. All right. So for everyone listening, this has been fun. Absolutely been fun. Thank you. We will be back next week for the Bridgerton episode. Can't wait for that. And I've been
That's
waiting.
not what it's called.
Yeah, it's called Rogue, but
Rogue.
I'm going to call it the
All
Bridgerton
about tea
episode
time.
because I've been waiting all episode to try to figure out a way to work this into the episode. So in closing, I'm saying, Clarence, you came with a different opinion, and that was so brave. Remember, that's what she said. He was so brave.
Don't explain yourself. Don't explain yourself. We're just going to go with that.
Just leave it alone.
Oh, and with that, everyone, thank you for joining us. And as always, we will be back next time.